Hello everyone, that manga kid here to do a reread review of Maid-Sama by Hiro Fujiwara. This is a series where I review manga series that I've recently reread. So in the case of Maid-Sama, this is the second time I have read this series. I recently bought this because I finally caved and decided to just get it because I wanted to try reading it again. This is a series that I watched the anime for when I was 13, which was about 8 years ago. So, and then at the time I started reading the manga and kept up with it until it finished. Um, and so I had been debating whether or not to actually buy the series because I didn't think that I would still enjoy it because I'm older now and I figured that my tastes may have changed. I was wrong. This was so good. It was just as good, if not better, than when I originally read it. And I'm so glad I bought it. These are Viz Shoujo Beat 2-in-1s, which you don't see very often. Normally you see the 3-in-1s. This was originally released in single volumes, probably by Tokyo Pop, but don't quote me on that. I just remember that this was being released when I was 13, 14 in single editions, but clearly that company doesn't have the rights to it anymore, and Viz must have picked up the rights for it and decided the fastest way to get it out was to do these 2-in-1s. Don't be concerned about the paper quality. Like if you've picked up the 3-in-1s by Viz, you know that the paper is super thin. It's like newsprint thin. These are fine. This is literally the quality of their single edition volumes, but double the size. The paper is pretty much, as far as I can tell, exactly the same as their single edition volumes. I think they just wanted to release it faster since most of it had already been released in single editions by a different company. So they decided to do 2-in-1s. So these are exactly the same thickness as it would be if you bought 2 single volumes. So the quality is fine, it's just a bit thicker. The price is pretty decent for what these are. I mean, it's affordable, it's good. As far as the actual series goes, if you don't know anything about Maid-Sama, this is a series about this girl here on the cover, Misaki, who is her school's president. And it used to be an all-boys school, but recently has been converted into a co-ed school. So most of the students are still male, and the school has a bad reputation for being really vulgar and gross because the boys that attended were just like animals. And so she has become the student body president in order to convert the school into a better, safer place for all students, mostly female students, because there's very few of them and they feel kind of like targeted by the male students. So she's kind of demonic. They call her the demon president because she yells at them, she gets mad, and is constantly screaming at the boys and doesn't really like guys very much because she's got a bad, she's had a bad experience with her father, so she kind of is taking out all that frustration towards men on the boys at her school. In comes Usui, who is the boy on the cover, who is this mysterious guy who is very good-looking, quiet, constantly getting confessed to by the female students, looked up to by the male students, and is become fascinated with the president, Misaki. So obviously, this is a romance. It's a shoujo. You know they're going to get together at some point, and this is a romance between the two of them. But the twist in this story is that Misaki, her family's very poor, so in order to make some money, she works in a maid cafe as a maid. And so Usui finds out this secret that she works in this maid cafe and starts going to the maid cafe every day. And this is her life of trying to keep her job a secret so that she doesn't lose the respect and dignity that she has as this demonic president that her school sees her as. And it's just a really lovely story of like you get a nice equal balance of school time versus maid cafe time, which I really like because it is a school romance comedy, but it also takes place at her work. So you get all of the other employees in there and that dynamic of how she behaves in that space, while also getting her school life and her peers and how they see her and how she interacts with them, and her student council life and how she interacts with the rest of the student council, and as well as just intimate moments between her and Usui that take place kind of all across the board. And it's really fun in that way because you don't get bored of the setting because it equally kind of spends its time in different places. It does go through the shoujo tropes of like the school festival, the school field trip, Valentine's Day, stuff like that. But it kind of does it differently because this series is very out there and over the top. Um, like Usui's like superhuman, Misaki's like superhuman, but it's funny because it is pointed out by all of the other people in the story. All of the other classmates are like, these two are not human beings. Humans can't do that stuff physically. Um, or like you can't be good at everything, right? So it's pointed out, it's joked at, it's poked fun of. It's fun and lighthearted in that way that it's not trying to be super realistic. It's trying to be fun and entertaining and exciting, and it definitely pulls that off. It's the artwork at the beginning is like it's okay, but it's not fantastic. This series, like she really, really progresses in her character designs over the course of this series, and it ends up being some of my favorite artwork. The first few volumes are like all right, they're fine, they're not fantastic, but later on, like this is my favorite cover of the series here. It's really, really beautiful. But I've got a few. Like Misaki has the cutest blushing face ever. I absolutely love when she's blushing. It's so cute. I just can't like there's a chapter, it's actually an extra story, but like the artwork there, you can tell how much nicer it is from the first volume. Like oh, she's just adorable. I really, really enjoy this character. Usui is really funny. He's just that like he's so mysterious. You find out his backstory later, obviously, but like it's just the character progression through this is so wonderful because you watch these students, particularly Misaki, but also Usui, and even the background characters, you watch them grow and mature in it's only about a year or so, maybe a year and a half tops, that this series takes place over the course of. But you watch in that year and a half, Usui and Misaki kind of break down the walls of each other's issues that they have with the world, and they start to grow up because they're like 16, 17 years old, and this is, they're teenagers, but they all obviously both have some family issues and some personal issues that they need to work through, and you get to really see their progression as people throughout this series together, and then also with the mix of new friends and everybody being introduced, and Misaki working at this job and learning life skills from this job while also learning different skills from her job as the president at the school. It's just a really, really wonderful romance. And this series did in the past and absolutely did this time as well. It makes my heart skip a beat whenever these two are together. They're so cute. Like the romance feels realistic for the type of people that these two are. It doesn't get sexually explicit. That's not what this series is about. But um, it doesn't feel cutesy. Some shoujo is very cutesy in that like, oh my god, we're holding hands. This is the biggest deal. Whereas Misaki is embarrassed about holding hands. You can tell she has never held a guy's hand before, but it feels more mature, and I don't know why. It feels more weighted than just like, oh, we're cute and we're holding hands and this is embarrassing. There's something more to it, and I really find that this couple is quite realistic because of just how they interact with each other and the amount of like I can just feel the emotion coming off of her whenever she's around him, and it's and her attraction to him, even though it doesn't get sexually explicit. You can feel just by looking at her face the way that she is drawn when she looks at him or when he is teasing her or whatever, that like she is really attracted to him. And I just love that. This series is so good. If you've never read it and you like shoujo, I highly, highly recommend Maid-Sama. It absolutely blew away my expectations, and I had watched and read this before. So rereading it was such a treat. Like, and I forgot a lot of these characters because it's been a while. I forgot a lot of the twists and turns, and I really, really loved it and highly recommend that you check it out. It is so good. Um, yeah, if you've read Maid-Sama or are interested in it, want to chat about it in the comments, please, please do. Let me know what you think. And yeah, thank you for watching. See ya.